Too, as I forgot that Steve has jury duty, so we may not have a lot of soldiers, so we may want to, well, we have to talk about whether we want to do the film.
So we're going to go now to the
archaeology lab, the State of Florida Archaeology Lab.
Again, this is a working archaeologist site.
And what we're going to see here is that they have a lot of objects from all kinds of periods, but they also they curate the artifacts discovered during the archaeology of the DeSoto encampment, the winter encampment that DeSoto and his soldiers had here in Tallahassee. Basically, when we found the artifacts, we found where the encampment was. We didn't know it at all until about maybe 15 years ago. And so this is a site is also going to celebrate the Viva Florida celebrations by kicking off the year in January, on January 5th, with a recreation of DeSoto's encampment and the first Christmas Mass said in North America.
Now, this is what we lovingly call the Messer House.
Yes. And it houses our costume shop, our laundry, and our interpreters' workstations.
And of course, we try to air dry everything to keep it as
Well, linen,
non-corroding.
yeah. Well, linen is something that does better. Does better with air drying than hot. Hey, Marie, we decided to shelter. So we came a little
I
early.
cannot believe it's going to rain again. Oh my goodness.
Last night was just incredible. This is Marie Prentice.
Hello there.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
What's
you.
your exact title, dear?
Well, my title doesn't really reflect what I
Okay, tell
do.
me, yeah.
Senior archaeologist. But I assist with the management of the State of Florida's archaeological collection. What I normally would say, what we do here, but we're kind of scattered into 3 different buildings. We are a repository for artifacts collected in the state of Florida. Primarily through permitting, a lot of research institutions, different projects around the state, anything on state land, in parks and things like that. Artifacts that are dug up come here. And sometimes we do take in private donations, but we obviously now have much more limited space than we did before, so we have to kind of limit that a little bit.
The lab had to move from a larger facility, and they decided that they come to San Luis and basically use some of the property that we have, some of the lab buildings and an education building and this Messer House. And this is the interior of the Messer House, which is about a 1938 structure, and it's an example of sort of a take on the Spanish colonial style. But we're glad to have it. It's been helpful.
Yeah, it's a wonderful building. It's a shame that we had to come in here and cover up all the neat features of it. But they're being protected,
Yes.
so that's good. And hopefully this is just a temporary storage place for the state's artifacts. But Karen wanted me to talk to you a little bit about the DeSoto artifact. This is kind of one of our public areas. We have a very active loan program, which is actually what the main focus of my job. We loan to museums all across the state and even across the country. People will send representatives from those institutions to come in and make selections of artifacts, and we kind of help them narrow down what their focus is going to be. Some people want artifacts that were just collected in their area, or they might be focusing on a certain idea. There's a museum in Fort Walton recently that developed a pirate exhibit of not necessarily the loot that they collect, but the everyday items that pirates would have used, as well as other seafaring peoples. We have a lot of artifacts from 1715 fleet, which are a bunch of Spanish ships that went down in a hurricane in 1715 along the east coast of Florida. Also, 1733, there was a hurricane that went through and took a lot of Spanish ships out down around the Keys.
Well, show me something about the DeSoto.
Okay, DeSoto. Now, the good stuff for DeSoto, and I hope while you're running around doing your visiting that you stop by the Martin House, which is on Lafayette Street. As I mentioned, we have a very active loan program. All the goodies from DeSoto are at that exhibit.
Okay, good.
They
We
are
were there
on
yesterday.
loan over there. So this is kind of what's left behind. It's some neat stuff. But in 1539, DeSoto made it up to this region. Back in the 1980s, one of BAR's archaeologists, Calvin Jones, discovered what he believed to be Hernando de Soto's winter encampment of 1539. And as they started excavating, they were finding things that definitely pinpointed the time period. We have evidence of, this is just one bag, we have lots and lots of fragments of chainmail. Also, tacks, which are not necessarily really easy to pinpoint time periods, but these do generally date to that time period. These are probably horseshoe nails. I have quite a few of those as well. Other things that indicated the time period was about right. Fort Walton and size pottery, which is Aboriginal. The Native Americans would have been making this. And actually there was a large camp of Native Americans living in the area, and that's what DeSoto moved into with his, I believe it's about, I actually printed something for you, about 500 people were with him on this journey. There were other Spanish explorers around the same time period. The thing that pinpointed it for us, that we kind of nailed that specific time period, again, this is at the Martin House, there was a crossbow quarrel, the end of it, that was pretty specifically dated to that time period. Some of the pottery, little tiny pieces, not nice big pieces like you find sometimes. Capara blue is a type of majolica manufactured in Spain that would have been found around the time of DeSoto's time that he was over here. Spanish olive jar, not sure how familiar you are with olive jar. Did she tour the archaeology lab yet?
I don't know, Sonia, have you seen the archaeology? No,
Okay, that would be a fascinating place to go as well. They have much better examples of olive jar than we do with the DeSoto stuff. Part of a buckle. I couldn't say exactly what time period that came from. Chevron beads, they traded a lot with Native Americans beads. Chevron beads are distinctive in the way that they were manufactured, the multicolor beads. These also date to about DeSoto's time period. Burned corn cobs. I couldn't say for sure if they did radiocarbon dates on those or not. I would imagine they did, but I don't actually have that paperwork with me right now. But one of the things that really pinpointed and hit home, with all of these things all taken into consideration, there was also pig bone. And DeSoto brought pigs with him. He was the first European to bring pigs at all to the New World. And that is where those pigs that we have now descended, for the wild boar and everything in Florida, descended from those pigs that DeSoto brought with him. So that was kind of a clincher. Now the area where they excavated this back in the 1980s at the Martin House was it was under threat of construction. There's 2 office buildings there that were constructed in the 80s. It actually represents a very small area, and for the amount of men and actually some women, if you'll read in there, that he brought, it was just too small of an area. There's no way all those people would have fit in this small area. They're almost certain it was a much larger occupation. Some people, in fact, some archaeologists dispute that this is without a doubt DeSoto. Some people say, well, there were later Spanish explorers that also brought pigs. You don't have anything that positively dates it to that time period. We need to examine a larger area. So after these excavations were done at the Governor Martin House, I was actually on a survey back in the late 80s where we went out into the Lafayette Park neighborhood and did an auger survey, trying to expand this area to show that it was in fact DeSoto, that this was a large encampment. We were unable to do that. We found a couple of other mission sites, but we did not find any evidence of DeSoto. More recently, the Panhandle Archaeological Society at Tallahassee, also known as PAST, has gone out and they have been doing more surveys in other areas around the city, trying again to find more evidence. And it was just very, very lucky that we were able to find these materials. I'm kind of on the fence. I kind of would really like to think this was at least part of his encampment, but we need more studying to be done. We need to find more evidence of it, more in the archaeological record.
But we know in the written record accounts of the expedition that they were here in Tallahassee.
Yes.
So, I mean, it'd be nice to be able to really...
To say definitively,
yeah.
without a doubt, this is from DeSoto,
Yeah.
which I kind of lean that way. I mean, you got a lot going on here to
Well,
say
what
that.
happened too, when the houses are being built, and even yards and swimming pools and things like that, what little evidence, and this is, not that much evidence basically, might have been destroyed in excavations.
The auger survey that we conducted back in the 80s showed extensive leveling of land, that extensive disturbance to the land. There was just really, it was kind of a fruitless endeavor. I mean, in these situations with archaeologists, it's always good to know what isn't there as well as what is. We know that whatever had been in the Lafayette Park neighborhood is pretty much obliterated, unfortunately.
And that's true of the rest of the Appalachian village that would not have been here on the hilltop, but there'd be small villages all around the hilltop, little farming villages and stuff. Those are wiped out by when, like things like Doak Campbell Stadium get built, or just even student housing, or Albertson Supermarket gets built. So, to have these little, the Martin House and this, historical sites help protect things because you don't plow ground right around it.
Well, and laws help protect archaeological sites too, that when there are large-scale developments, there are laws that tell the developer, you must do an archaeological survey. Now, I don't know specifically, I don't work in that branch of our division that would be better familiar with the laws of what size. I know it depends on a certain size, that they do have to conduct archaeological surveys.
And of course, the interest of the public and participation also helps in maintaining and starting.
I don't know if you're familiar with Miami Circle. It was a Native American site that the public actually literally saved. It was going to be developed. They did actually develop to the north of it, put a big hotel up. And it was public outcry that said, no, we don't want to lose this. This is too valuable. So now there's one little green space in downtown Miami that, thanks to our former bureau chief, Ryan Wheeler, and the public and other people like that that were involved with Ryan that helped save that site.
So, speaking of that, the public is welcome here to ask questions.
For collections, the collections area, it's basically by appointment only. We're you're getting a behind-the-scenes tour right now.
Exclusive people.
Exclusive behind-the-scenes tour.
That's why Marie suggested going to the Martin House, because you can go in there.
Yes, the Martin House
Right,
is
we
open
were there
to the
yesterday.
public. Okay, and that is, again, that's where all our neat DeSoto stuff is. But yes, we're happy to accommodate, and we do behind the scenes. We're just finishing up a move right now, so we're kind of in a state of disarray.
And again, this isn't just for North Florida. It's for the whole state that you all have
the
things
entire
for.
state of Florida.
Yeah. In the lab building, first floor, the lab building over there is our archaeology lab. It's basically the site archaeology lab, and those artifacts are just mission San Luis related in most cases. And so you've got, it's kind of neat actually, for the first time we're all together. Not all together, but it's kind of interesting. You kind of get a synergy. When you have working archaeologists on the site, it lends a better flavor to it. I can always grab Marie and she can do a tour if she has to.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to do that.
Well, thank you, ladies.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you for stopping by.